about the sulfonamides. So what will be the learning outcomes today after studying the sulfonamides? We will come to know what are sulfonamides. Then we will study about the different different chemical compounds which comes under sulfonamides. So different compounds we will study. Then we will study about their nomenclature or name. We will see about the properties, then uses, then we will study about their formulations, what are the available marketed formulations are there, then possible brand names also. Okay, what are the available marketed products are there for those different sulfonamide compounds. Okay, so before starting the class, before going to the different compounds, we have to know what is sulfonamide or what are sulfonamides. Okay, so sulfonamides, these are the compounds those which are having antibacterial activity. Okay, so chemically we have to see what are sulfonamides. So the compound containing SO2NH2 group, that is sulfonamido group, are known as sulfonamides. Okay, so these compounds are the sulfonamides. In sulfonamides, whenever you will come across a sulfonamide structure, chemical structure or compounds, you will get this SO2NH2 there. Okay, so basically, if you see the primary or first prototype compound of this sulfonamide is this one. Okay, this structure is known as sulfanilamide. Okay, sulfanilamide. So this is the prototype structure for the compound sulfanilamide. So here you see, just see this structure, you are getting this one, SO2NH2, that is sulfonamido group. Why it is sulfonamido group? Because SO2 will be sulfo, then this will be the amide. Okay, this why it is sulfonamido group. So this compound is antimicrobial. Okay, in nature, antimicrobial agent. We can call this one as antimicrobial agent. So this is the prime or prototype structure. From that one, from this structure, we can derive different other compounds of this class. Those will study under these different compounds. Okay, so till now this is clear. So next I will just say a little bit about how this sulfonamide acts. Okay, so sulfonamides, okay, or sulfanilamide, if you see just this structure, just I have drawn. This structure is having close resemblance to this structure. Okay, this structure is known as PABA. Okay, PABA, that is para amino benzoic acid. This is PABA. Okay, and this is our sulfanilamide. This structure, this para-amino benzoic acid, is essential for the bacteria for its growth. Why? Because this PABA is essential for the folic acid synthesis. Okay, and we know the folic acid is essential compound or essential chemical compound which is required for the DNA synthesis. Ultimately, after DNA synthesis, what will happen? The protein will be synthesized. So, in able to bacteria to synthesize protein for its own metabolic function, the bacteria needs this PAVA. Okay, but what happens? This structure is close. If you see nicely, this is having close resemblance with this PAVA. Okay, so what it does? The sulfanilamide goes to the system, and it will competitively antagonize this structure. That is, it just prevents this structure to get attached, react with the folic acid, so that there will be no formation of folic acid, and ultimately there will be no DNA synthesis. Okay, so this is the main mechanism of action. So ultimately your bacteria will be died. Okay, and you just remember the sulfonamide is active against both gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Okay, and other microbes also. Okay, so you have to remember this one. So this much I think clear for introduction part. Okay, so one more thing you have to remember, that whenever there is substitution occur or synthesis of this derivative of this sulfanilamide is there, that is the different compounds which are the derivatives of this sulfonamide, mainly the substitution occurs at this hydrogen. Okay, either in this hydrogen or in this hydrogen. So generally in nomenclature, this nitrogen is termed as nitrogen 1 and this one is termed as nitrogen 4. So mainly the substitution occurs at mainly in this two position. Okay, that is with nitrogen, that is hydrogen will replace and ultimately it will give some other activity. So for example, take consideration of this N1. Okay, that is this nitrogen. Here substitution will be take place. So mainly if this substitution take place, that is one hydrogen is replaced by any other heterocyclic compound. So if hydrogen is replaced by heterocyclic compound, the antibacterial property increases. Okay, so antibacterial property increases. Okay, so you have to remember. So if you just replace this hydrogen with any other compounds, like not only heterocyclic compound, in other organic compounds, the overall antibacterial property will be increased. And remember, if you do substitution here, you have to incorporate such a group so that is later it is reduced to NH2 group, because this NH2 group is required for overall your antibacterial property. So if you replace this hydrogen with any of the hydrogen from this group N4, it should be reduced, or it should be able to regain its form in the physiological system to give its antibacterial property. So this much clear. So this is the overall sulfonamides and how it's work. And again you have to remember, it is active against both the gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Okay, so these are the little bit about the sulfonamides. What are sulfonamides? And don't confuse with this spelling. Okay, sometimes you will find SULPHO. Okay, NAMIDS. Both are correct. Either if you write FO or PHO, both are sulfonamides. So don't confuse. In some books you will find this spelling. In some book you will find this spelling. Okay. So next we will start with the compound. Okay, so first compound, that is the derivative of sulfonamide, we will study, that is sulfadiazine. Okay, sulfadiazine. So this is one of the derivative of sulfonamides. Okay, so this is the structure of sulfadiazine. So you write this NH2, then our benzene ring. Okay, then SO2, then NH, then sulfadiazine. So it is 1,3 diazine. You just remember diazine. So before writing this structure, okay, so I am telling this 1,3 diazine, 1,3 diazine, and if you remember from if the azo or az, if in the structure there is az, you have to remember there is nitrogen. Okay, az represents nitrogen, and di means there are two nitrogen. Di means two, and az means nitrogen. So two nitrogen will be there. So let us draw N. So if you be here, next will be here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so number will be like this. So why I have written 1,3 diazine, you just see in 1 and 3 position 2 nitrogen are there. So that's why it is 1,3 diazine. Okay, so nomenclature. Okay, so nomenclature, what will be the name? Okay, name of this compound, we can term that one as N1. Okay, so why it is N1? So earlier I have written, if you remember, that this nitrogen is termed as nitrogen 1 and this is 4. Okay, this is just a general nomenclature or IUPAC nomenclature, but they just count that how it is 1 and how it is 4. You just see 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is why they just named it. Okay, so this is N1. So in N1, what is there? What is attached? If you see, this structure is pyrimidine. Okay, this structure is pyrimidine, benzene ring with 2 nitrogen with unsaturation. That is your pyrimidine. So you will write pyrimidine. So pyrimidine spelling is Pyrimidine. So we are just omitting E. We will write 2. So in 2 position, something is attached. Something is attached to 2 position. So we will write pyrimidinyl. Okay. So N1, that is this N. Okay. N1 pyrimidinyl. Then what is this structure? This is called as sulfanilamide. Okay, sulfanilamide. So this is the name of this compound. Okay, so this is the name of this compound. Why it is N1 means in one first N is what is attached? Pyrimidine. Okay, benzene ring with 2 nitrogen with unsaturation is pyrimidine. Okay, so N1 dash pyrimidine, in 2 position something is attached, so 2Y. Okay, if it is just there is no attachment here, we will just write pyrimidine. Okay, but in 2nd position or 2 position something is attached, that is this group is attached, your sulfanilamide group is attached, so we just wrote 2Y. Okay, then bracket close, and ultimately we are ending this name of this structure with this parent moiety. We are taking this one as parent moiety, that is sulfanilamide. So this is the name. Okay, so next we will see some properties. Okay, so properties. So it is, we will see the color. It is white or yellowish in order, so it is orderless. Okay, so you have to remember this structure is orderless and it is in crystalline form. Okay, so it is in crystalline powder form. Okay, so if you see the name, then properties, some of the properties I have highlighted, color, then it is crystalline in form. So I am rubbing this one. Next, I am writing above. Okay, next properties, the melting point. So the melting point is 252 to 56 degree, 252 to 256 degree Celsius. Okay, so this is the melting point of this compound. Okay, so next, what is the solubility? Okay, solubility. Okay, so under the solubility, first solubility will be it is sparingly soluble, sparingly soluble in water at 37 degree Celsius, and it is also sparingly soluble in acetone, okay, and alcohol. Okay, so you have to remember it is sparingly soluble in water at 37 degree Celsius, then it is also sparingly soluble in acetone and alcohol. Okay, so next, okay, also about the solubility, it is freely soluble in, it is freely soluble in mineral acids, okay, mineral acids and ammonia. So you have to remember this thing about the solubility. Okay, I am just rubbing this structure. If you see this solubility, sparingly soluble in water at 37 degrees Celsius, then it is also sparingly soluble in acetone and alcohol, then it is freely soluble in mineral acid and ammonia. Okay, so next we will see about what are the uses of this compound. Okay, so uses of this sulfur diazine. Okay, so as it is antibacterial, so it is used as a antibacterial agent. Okay, first use we can say this is used as a antibacterial agent. So mainly it is used against various infections like pneumococcal infections. So the infections which are caused by pneumococcus bacteria, so it is used against pneumococcal infection. Then it is also used against meningococcal infections. So meningococcal infection, you have to remember, these are the infection caused by the meningococcus. Some bacteria are just classified as meningococcus bacteria. So this mainly what it does, it causes the sepsis of meninges. Okay, so meninges are the separation part of the dura mater, pia mater. Okay, so this meninges is mainly infected by this bacteria. Okay, so next it is also used in the Friedlander's bacillus infections. Okay, Friedlander's bacillus infections. Okay, so it is also used against the Friedlander's bacillus infection. So mainly the Klebsiella pneumoniae is the mainly the called as Friedlander's bacillus. Okay, so Klebsiella pneumonia related infections are also treated by this sulfadiazine. Okay, and it is also against for influenza. Okay, so you have to remember these are the mainly uses of this sulfadiazine. Okay, so next we will see about the, so this is up to uses it is done. Okay, so next we will see 2 or 3 formulation. What are the different type of formulation available in terms of pharmacopoeial formulation, that is accepted formulation are there. So different formulations are sulfadiazine BPIP, sulfadiazine BP, then IP, that is British Pharmacopoeia, as per British Pharmacopoeia and as per Indian Pharmacopoeia. Then sulfadiazine injection or tablet, sulfadiazine injections and tablets. Okay, that is formulated by BP, IP, then USP, that is British Pharmacopoeia, Indian Pharmacopoeia and United States Pharmacopoeia. So you already know that pharmacopoeia are the standard drug compendium that gives the standard of a drug. Okay, so these are the, then oral suspension is also available, oral suspension, so it is also available as per the USP, United States Pharmacopoeia. So these are the different type of formulations. So next we will see the different brands. Okay, so what are the different brands? So different brands, that is sulfapyrimidine. Okay, so directly it is available in the form of sulfapyrimidine, then pyrimal, then Devenal. Okay. Then another is diazyl, DIAZYL. So these are the different form of formulation. You can see other formulation in the book or in the internet. You can search. Okay. So these are the different brands of sulfadiazine. So next we just see what are the storage condition. So on exposure to dark or on exposure to light, okay, not dark, on exposure to light, it used to darken in color. So we have to store in well closed container, and protected from light. So this is the main storage condition of this sulfadiazine. Okay, so this much for this sulfadiazine. Okay, we have covered this one, then also storage. Okay, we have covered. So next compound we'll start. Next compound will start sulfaguanidine. Okay, so next compound is sulfaguanidine. Okay, so structure I am drawing. So this is the NH2 of this N4. Okay, nitrogen 4. Then this one is your benzene ring. Then SO2. Then NH3. So this is the structure sulfur guanidine. Okay, so this is the structure of sulfur guanidine. You just remember what is the structure of guanidine. I am drawing here. Guanidine. Okay, guanidine is NH2 C double bond NH, then NH2. So this is the structure of guanidine, and if you see this structure is closely resemblance with this structure. That's why it is called as sulfur guanidine. Okay, so this is just overall structure of sulfur guanidine. So how can we name this one? So we can name this one. This one is okay. I am writing. Then I will discuss 4-amino. Okay, so 4-amino. Then and okay, diamino methylene. Okay, diamino methylene. Then your benzene sulfonamide. So this is the nomenclature of this structure. Another nomenclature we can give N1 guanyl sulfanilamide. So both name can be used. Okay, so I am describing why it is 4-amino and diamino methylene benzene sulfonamide. So you just concentrate here. We number 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, 6. So in 4 position amino group is there. So in 4 position amino group is there. So that's why it is 4-amino. Okay, then N. Okay, N of this one. Okay, N. So in N, what it is attached? Diamino methylene. Okay, so di means 2, amino means NH2. So 2 NH2, okay, 2N, okay, so 2NH or NH2, that's why it is diamino. Then methylene, because one carbon is there, so it is diamino methylene. Then benzene sulfonamide. So this is the structure of benzene sulfonamide. Benzene with SO2 NH. So that's why it is 4-amino. Then N, this N, and diamino means 2 nitrogen are there, NH2 or NH2. That's why diamino methylene, because if it is only one carbon is there, we can term that one as methylene. So diamino methylene, then benzene, this is benzene, then sulfonamide. So this is the sulfonamide, SO2 NH. So this is the one nomenclature. Next nomenclature we can just term N1. There is this N will be 1 and this is 4 10. Okay, N4. So N1 what it is attached? Guanyl. Okay, N1 में क्या attached है यहाँ पर? It is guanyl attached. Okay, guanidine. Okay, this is guanidine group. So this one it is N1 guanyl. Then overall structure is your sulfanilamide. So this is the another name of this compound. Okay, 4-amino and diamino methylene benzene sulfonamide, and next one is N1 guanyl sulfanilamide. Okay, so these are the two name of this compound. Okay, so next we will see about the properties. Okay, what are the properties? Okay, so in properties, first we will see color. So it is white in color. Then it is odor. It is odorless. Okay, so this color is white, odorless. Then it is also crystalline powder. So if you see, most of the sulfonamides, the derivatives of different compounds or different derivatives of sulfonamides will be of having same color, either slight difference in color or it is in crystalline powder form. The form will be same, so there will be basic similarity because the parent compound is sulfonamide. It is containing SO2 NH2. Okay, then melting point. So what it is the melting point of this compound? It is 190 to 190 degree Celsius. So this is the melting point of this compound. Okay. Next, about the solubility. So solubility, if you see the solubility profile of this one, it is at 25 degrees Celsius. It is soluble in water. Okay, so it is simply soluble in water at 25 degrees Celsius. Then sparingly soluble. So these are the subheadings of sparingly soluble in acetone and alcohol. So if you see the earlier compound also, it is sparingly soluble in acetone and alcohol. Okay, next I'm going up. Okay, so it is sparingly soluble in alcohol and acetone. Next, it is freely soluble. So it is freely soluble in cold dilute mineral acid. Cold dilute mineral acid. So what are the mineral acid? HCl, HBr. Okay. So in cold dilute mineral acid, this sulfur guanidine is freely soluble. Okay, and it is insoluble. So it is not soluble in NaOH, that is sodium hydroxide. Okay, in NaOH at room temperature, at normal room temperature, it is not soluble in NaOH. Okay, so this is about the solubility. Okay, so next we have to see the uses of this sulfur. So what are the uses? Okay, so it is used for local intestinal infections. Okay, so it is used for local intestinal infection. So mainly in bacillary dysentery. Okay, so it is mainly used in the local intestinal infection, bacillary dysentery, mainly orally. Okay, so you have to remember this, orally it is used for bacillary dysentery. Next, in the treatment of, so first, second, in the treatment of coccidiosis. Okay, in the treatment of coccidiosis in chicken. So it is one type of infection that is occurring in chicken. Okay, this is one type of protozoal infection mainly. Okay, next, it is also used for veterinary purposes for enteric infections. Okay, so what are enteric infection? Whenever there is enteric word, you just remember enteric means your stomach cavity. Okay, enteric cavity means your stomach cavity. So mainly stomach infection, for stomach infection or intestinal infection, better to say, we can call this one this we can use this sulfur guanidine. Okay, so these are the mainly uses. Okay, so next we will see what are the different formulations. So formulations. Okay, so you just remember we covered name, properties, uses, then we are going to study about the formulation. So different formulation like sulfur guanidine, IP, BP. Okay, then guanidine tablets, IP and BP. So these are the different formulation. You can see in the book also some 2 or 3 formulation are there. So these are the formulations. Next, what are the different types of, what are the different brands? Okay, that is brands will be the marketed one. Okay, so what are the marketed formulated available drugs are there as a sulfur guanidine. Okay, so brands, what are the different brands? So this RP 2275, then your sulfoguanil, so these are the different brands. Okay, then Shigatols, one more. Okay, so these are the different types of brands available in the form of sulfur guanidine. Then storage condition. Storage conditions. So you remember in the storage condition, these are one exposure to light, it used to be darkened. So we have to keep this one in a well closed container and protected from light. Okay, so you remember just whenever there is light protection for any formulation, we have to keep that one in amber colored bottle or container. Okay, so whenever there is any light protection, we can keep that one light protection or photoreactive product is there in the formulation. We have to keep that formulation in a amber colored container so that it get protected from the light degradation. Okay, so I think this much for today. Okay, so thank you.